Got it. We got this. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Anne Marie, can you do the roll call?
Yes. So, Commissioner Dosty.
Present.
I think you said here. Commissioner Cannoli.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm here.
Commissioner Grossman.
Here.
Commissioner Bainan.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Garrett Pinguella.
I'm here.
Okay. And Commissioner Lindsay.
I'm here, just barely. Couldn't find the frickin' link in my email.
And Chair Zapata.
I'm here.
Okay.
So, welcome. We are, well, I just want to start off by recognizing that we are holding tonight's meeting, and the reason we're together is because we are in the city of Albany, which is unceded Legion Ohlone territory, and this land has been taken care of for hundreds and thousands of years by the Legion Ohlone people, and or thousands of years. Sorry, not hundreds, thousands of years. And this is just to express gratitude and appreciation for their stewardship of the land, because our well-being is tied to that stewardship. So want to start off with some words of gratitude. I also want to start off by saying that it is Dia de los Muertos tonight, a very important celebration in parts of Latin America. So I am going to move to approval of the minutes after just those few words, and we'll have time for announcements and that sort of thing. Okay, so are there any amendments or a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, roll call, unless there are any comments.
All right. I was going to second it, but Bainan already did that.
Okay. Anne Marie, we have you. There you go.
Okay, so we're voting on approving the minutes from the last meeting. Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Bainan.
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Dosty.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguella.
Yeah, I abstain for the reason of I'm not sure if we read our mission statement in the beginning of our meetings.
Okay, and Chair Zapata.
Yes. Okay. Jeremiah, I can check in with you about that later, I think. Okay. I guess before we move on, I just want to point out this, the minutes here that include our agreements. I'm not sure if you all saw this, but it's really funny. It's like the minute I try to find anything on my desktop, it's gone. But we did, in the minutes is a review of our agreements, and I just wanted to, sorry. I just wanted to take a moment to review those right now so that we are using those. I think this is it here. Okay, so number one, the first one I've already violated, which was to keep, or not violated, but not, we have more than two major topics on the agenda. Actually, I think it's just two major topics, but it is fascinating how hard it is to create this agenda. So the first was to keep the agenda to two major topics. The second was those who have spoken create space for those who have not. So we last time agreed to that. Number 3 was to limit our comments to 2 minutes, which would be self-monitored. So please, if you possibly can, have a phone nearby where you're just, I mean, I know I'll start talking and it can be hard to track that. So if you can, if you feel a lengthy announcement or a lengthy comment, please pull out your phone and do that. And then the last was to use the raise hand feature and to, I would like to add to lower the raise hand feature so that we're accurately keeping track of who has spoken and who would like to speak, so that we're raising and lowering our hands. Okay. All right. And then let's see. I'm going to move us on to public comment. And for public comment, remember, this is anything that's not on the agenda. So if there's something not on the agenda that you'd like to comment on, please feel free to raise your hand right now, and we will put aside some time for public comment. And I'm going to keep my eye on the attendee list and see if a hand goes up. I'm going to give it a moment. All right. Anne-Marie, if you can move in our first public comment. And I believe it's 2 minutes. 3? Okay, 3. Thanks. 3. Great. 3 minutes. If there is a timer somewhere. Thank you. Julie, are you there? Hang on. I don't think Julie has been moved in yet. Is this me? Do I move Julian? No. Okay.
Okay, now I moved in. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Start the timer again. Thank you.
Thanks. I attended the city council meeting last night, and I know that you're going to be talking about your work plan, so this is sort of on the agenda, but I just wanted to I wasn't sure if it would fit into what you were going to be talking about tonight, but encourage you to be looking at the automatic, whatever it's called, the direct deposits, direct cash payment, transfers, those things. I encourage you to be looking at that. And the other thing is, it came to my attention, I missed a SCJC meeting, but it came to my attention that there was Commissioner Garrett Pinguello talked about getting somebody who was unhoused arrested. And I was just wanted to express my concern about that being reported at an SCJC meeting when it's social economic justice, and that doesn't fall into that category. And I just wanted, so I wanted to express my concern about that being said at an open meeting, and also that apparently no one had any comment about maybe that's not a good idea to have somebody who's unhoused and who has to then leave all their belongings unattended to be arrested and taken away, and so that their belongings get stolen. So I don't know what you can do about that. I know everybody gets to say what they want to say at the meeting, but I just wanted to express my concern about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comment from the public? I just want to give it a moment. Okay, that is the end of public comment. I'm going to move us into announcements.
Can I respond to the public comment?
You know, Jeremiah, from what I understand in terms of the right that the public has to make comment, I don't believe we are, you know, frankly allowed to, because you would comment and then they would go back and they wouldn't have a chance to comment. So I think our charge is to let the public comment and to leave that where it is.
Okay, that's fine. I was just wanting, you know, to clarify the situation, but maybe it's best if I could probably respond to Julie in an email. If she'd kindly send me an email, I could respond to that in the email.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to move us. Commissioner Lindsay.
It's a sort of a Brown Act thing. So when somebody comes up and talks, usually we don't say anything, but a commissioner or a council member is allowed to respond. But there's no debate that happens, or we can also ask that it be referred to staff for follow-up. So there are things we can do, but it sounds like what Commissioner Garrett Penguello is suggesting anyway, that they talk about it among themselves, since they know each other anyway, is probably better. But just so you know what the deal is. That's all.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move us into announcements. So this is both staff and commission members. Please raise your hand if you have announcements. I'll start off by just saying what an important day today is, Dia de los Muertos, which is just a day in Latin America to celebrate our ancestors, not necessarily, sort of go to the sadness corner, but rather really just to celebrate life and to understand that death is part of life. And it's just lots of the skulls, lots of beautiful art and altars, and mine is in the background if you can sort of see the candles back there, but this recognition I think is really important. And I know there are neighbors, I literally hear live music. I know there is a neighbor that's throwing a Dia de los Muertos party right now. So Albany is feeling it. And yeah, so that's my starting announcement. I'm going to pass it to Commissioner Lindsay. And if you have an announcement, please raise your hand. You're muted, Jim.
I was saying I don't think it'll take me 2 minutes, but I'll start my watch anyway. I just wanted to say real quick, Dia de los Muertos is really, really wonderful and very moving. And if people aren't familiar with it, you might want to look into it because it's pretty cool, pretty awesome. And then I just wanted to say last time Commissioner Grossman clarified something that I think was really important, and I just didn't. And I just wanted to say thank you and reiterate it, which is that it's this issue of activism versus commissions versus programs. And he pointed out correctly that, yeah, we can be activists and be on a commission. We just can't run programs, right? We can run programs as a private citizen or as part of a group. We can run programs if the city council approves it, but the commission doesn't run programs. And so that clarification, but we can be activists. And so that I really thank you very much for that, Bart. That was a good clarification and actually made me feel a little bit better too.
Thank you, Commissioner Dosty, and then Commissioner Garrett Penguello.
I didn't think I had anything, but then I double checked, and November 20th, which is covered in this month, it's hard to think that far ahead, but November 20th is the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is the day each year that we take to honor our trans dead, and non-binary and gender expansive and gender diverse, and all of the folks who have been, and it usually is because of being, of deviating from cisness, cis being on the same side of and trans being across from. So and transness as like a moving away from the same side that is cisness. So there's usually vigils, certainly in Oakland and SF, but yeah, that's just, and sort of you mentioning Dia de los Muertos definitely made me think about it. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrett Penguello.
Hi, good evening. I would just like to invite the public to wonderful events that happen every week, which are these food banks, which is open to all Albany residents. It's located at, one of them's at Friends Church. That's a Berkeley food pantry, and that's at 1600 Sacramento, right next to the North Berkeley BART. It's north about 2 blocks from the BART station. So that's open Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So make sure to bring your California ID with your Albany address on it. That way you can get free food. And this food is straight from Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, Costco. And this food doesn't expire, tomorrow or the next few days either. This is food that expires maybe 3 weeks from now. This is food for families. This is all from the Alameda County Food Bank. This is all your tax dollars. And it's sad because at the end of the day, they throw away so much food into the green garbage cans because not enough people are going. And it doesn't make sense because a lot of people are saying there's not enough food or food's too expensive and they can't afford it. Well, I hope people try to go to these food banks. The next one is on 9th Street and University. It's the Berkeley Food Network. So that's open pretty much every day. You can go there and just tell them Jeremiah sent you and they'll help you out. And also, I was doing some outreach today. Wherever I'm at, I do outreach. If I'm in Oakland, if I'm in Hayward, I just do social justice everywhere. Today, I was on 2nd Street in Berkeley, and I met a gentleman from BACS, Bear Community Services, and he's the housing coordinator. So, and then they have an outreach coordinator, and they have all these people that have specific jobs to help people find housing, and that's all they do. And so it was really wonderful. We talked a lot for about 2 hours. So, I have a lot of lived experience, he called it. So, and also I toured the Wood Street and Oakland facility, Wood Street and 25th. There's an RV park, and that seems to function really well. There's 24-hour security. And
Jeremiah, I'm going to gently remind you that you've gone over 2 minutes.
And it works really well. And that's because they have electricity and security guards. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't want to, if you can have your timer there, that would be really helpful. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to try to do 3 minutes, if I can, but I'll try to keep it down.
We as a group, we agreed to 2 minutes. So if, I think all of us are working on, just sharing the space. So anything you can do to contribute to that would really help the commission.
Yeah, no problem. I was just announcements. I got things to say. And I think on each agenda item, when we're going around for discussion, for sure, 2 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll try to have a timer.
Got it. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Cannoli and then Commissioner Grossman.
Yeah, I first want to say I'm so grateful for everyone that is on the commission. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so grateful. And I love that everyone can just all come together and we come to a great solution. But I think first and foremost, we need to really appreciate the public. I think that is so amazing that we get emails on top of emails and also having them stay here for 2 to 3 to 4 hours during our meeting. And I think that is so beautiful. They do want to make a difference. They want to see the difference. And they're counting on us as an SEJC council for us to make a difference. So we need to really have an appreciation and recognize them because they are basically what we need, right? And that's all I wanted to say. And I'm going to keep it super short. But I just want to say thank you so very much for the public. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for emailing us, for attending. It means the world to me, and I hope that it means the world to the SCJC Council. And I'm sorry that I haven't responded in like a timely manner, but I am trying to get to all the emails. But thank you. It means the world. And I mean, obviously the council has made a huge difference in my world too. So yeah, hopefully we have an appreciation day for the public. I mean, I don't know, but it's just like a little bit of an idea. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Ooh, that sounds great. Sounds like a party, another party we need to have. Okay. Okay, Bart, and then Will.
Yeah, I just had a question, Jeremiah. The food bank that you mentioned, is that food not intended for low income and people and unemployed people? I don't think we want to encourage people to go there who don't need that.
Yeah, that's correct. This is actually open to all residents. They don't check your income when you get there in line. They just ask for your ID and make sure you're wearing a mask, and you get 4 bags of groceries. It's literally $300 worth of food. And it gets thrown away at the end of the day because not enough people go. This is for families, people who have refrigerators and freezers. So I suggest everybody, experience it, try it one time.
Okay. I'm concerned about it being used by people who don't need to be using it.
Right. That's the main concern. And that's the main thing that everybody thinks is that, I could afford it. Maybe there's other people that need it more than me. Well, it's being thrown away because not enough people are going. So it's for families. It's for all residents of Albany and Berkeley.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Will.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. So as I said earlier, but this past week was our homecoming week at the high school, and every year we do a canned food drive. And this year we raised a little bit over 500 cans from just students donating them. So I thought that was good to just share.
Thank you. That's awesome. Good job. Thank you, Will. It's very cool to hear about what's happening at the high school. I think a lot of us feel, a little separate from the young folks. So thank you for bringing that. A last comment from Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Yeah, that's really great, Bainan. I think that's wonderful that you guys do that. And is that those cans collected for, low income families that can't afford it, or what do you guys do with those cans?
Yeah, so they're donated to the Berkeley Food Pantry.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, of course. I should have said that earlier.
Keep up the good work.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Staff announcements. Are there any staff announcements?
Just one, and you may already all know this, but last night at the City Council meeting, your chair presented the revised work plan, and it was approved by the City Council. So congratulations, and you can start working on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we can all retire.
Yeah. Okay, we're done. Adjourned. No, I'm just kidding. Oh wow. Okay. So I'm gonna move us along, which is to say that I want to talk a little bit more about what happened. So we do not have presentations tonight. Jeremiah, did you have a quick comment?
Yeah, there was one amendment to our work plan, right? It was on the housing portion.
I don't think there was an amendment. I think there were lots of comments.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, there were lots of comments, but there were no motions, or it was passed.
It wasn't amendments. Okay, it was passed. Yeah, because I remember, one commissioner or one council member said something about the housing and he just wanted more data or more information on the housing part of it. But everything else was like passed with flying colors.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Cannoli?
Yes, I'm just so happy it got passed. I hope that we can do our due diligence and make a difference in this community. Thank you so much, Chair Zapata, for presenting it and being there and showing up. Congratulations to everyone, including me.
Nice work. I know. I guess before we move on, I do want to say a huge thank you to Anne Marie, who was, her and I sat down and worked to coordinate with Will, but it ended up just timing wise for us to put it together. And so a huge thank you to you, Anne Marie. You were very, very helpful. Commissioner Pinguello, Garrett Pinguello.
Thank you. The last thing I remember was there was a comment about the homeless task force and the youth task force. I just wanted to remind everybody about that comment.
Yeah, we'll get into that now. Commissioner Cannoli, did you have a comment?
I'm so sorry, and I don't know if we can use a different verbiage, because I think this has also been brought up in our commission. Instead of saying homelessness, can we say houselessness? I think member Garrett Pinguello actually put that into our vocabulary. So I think instead of saying homelessness, can we all agree that we can say houselessness? I think homelessness is a little bit offensive. Again, if anyone disagrees, please let me know. But
I agree.
That's just my little thing, and then I'm done talking.
No, it's helpful. I mean, what we are saying, the words we use are important, and there is some vocabulary around formerly housed, that people are formerly housed. I think, I'm gonna work to keep us on. I have a little time. There's obviously it's really important what we're doing, but I do have a little bit of a sketch of a time. I know that we'll do what we need to do, and the public, making sure that the public has a chance to comment on everything tonight is really important. So I'm not going to rush us and skip public comment, but I do have a sense of hopefully how we're going to navigate tonight. So I wanted to move us into item 6.1, which is the work plan. And I don't think I would do public comment right now before introducing it. I think I'm going to introduce it. Yeah. Okay. So let me just introduce by saying at the last meeting we spent time settling on a work plan, and this is after a lot of months of negotiation. But I think what I wanted to say, and these were my comments to introduce our work plan to the council, and basically what I said was, the charge of the SEJC is an interesting one, because it says we are here to research, analyze, discuss, and evaluate data and opinions related to social and environmental issues affecting the welfare of residents, understanding that Albany's both a local and a global community. But I think what's really interesting about that is that the environmental issues, I remember when I first got on the commission, I was like, environmental issues, but really it's about our community and how our community feels, right? And what that environment is, and who feels safe here, and who feels included, and what the quote unquote environment or world is like here in our city. And so in a lot of ways, our work plan, I believe, is deeply connected to the environment or the milieu, of the city of Albany. And so who feels comfortable here, who is able to move around comfortably here, who's able to feel connected and live their life without, feeling included and like they belong here, is, I think, deeply related to social and economic justice and to the work of our work plan. So my comments were exactly that. My framing was, this work plan really is about the environment of Albany, in that our work ideally will create a place where people feel they belong, lots of different people. And so we then talked a bit about, so I guess without doing a lot of, who said what, I do want to say that people on the commission had comments about our work plan. There were some commissioners that believed, what happened with the Nicole Anderson report is in the city, and why are we talking about it? But no one made a motion to take that out. But I think I mentioned that because if we do some work on it, we want to be aware of how it might land with the council. And also there was a comment about they really don't feel that there is room to create new bodies. So we list in our work plan of homelessness workforce, or formerly housed, perhaps a task force for formerly housed people. I do want to mention that the council appeared to sort of, some of the people were discouraging of creating new bodies like a youth task force. It wasn't like, yeah, let's do this. It was sort of, there were comments like, we have no capacity as a city to add more bodies. So that's not to say that we couldn't make that happen. I just wanted to share some of the comments that I heard. And like, as Jeremiah, mentioned there, it felt almost like, is there an amendment here? But there weren't, So our work plan stands in the document that is linked in your agenda. And Anne Marie and I worked hard to combine and collapse a lot of sort of disparate ideas so that they felt like it felt doable. And I think the council felt that about the work plan, such that it was passed. So I guess I want to give you all, I want to make sure you have all had a chance to read it. I know this HTML thing is a little frustrating. So does anyone need a moment to read it?
Yeah, I have some trouble like finding it now. Like I don't see a link in the agenda. So I guess I'm supposed to go to the city website and do something, but I didn't see it there either.
Okay, so let me just, I'm going to share my screen real quick, okay?
Yeah.
So if you see here, this is on, here's our site, our public meeting videos and agendas. And then, is that okay, Jim?
Yeah.
And then this HTML packet here, if you click on that, it'll open that. And then you'll see right here, download PDF. That's the work plan there.
Okay, I thought I tried that and there was nothing there, but
Do you see it now?
but I probably did something wrong. Well, I'm not there, but let's just move the meeting along. It's okay.
I think, Lindsay, you didn't go to the HTML. You went to the PDF. I think that's what you're. I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No.
Here's the problem, but I think that's what the problem is.
All right, go ahead. It's cool.
Okay. So, okay. So I want to give us a minute to, talk if any of the commissioners have comments or questions, and then we'll open it to the public in a moment after hearing some discussion. So I see, Jim, if you want to put your hand down, we'll go with Bart and then Sierra.
Okay. Okay. So to get down to what needs to happen next, there are basically four areas here. And what I would like to suggest is we establish a working group, a subcommittee for each of those areas. So that would be mental health, housing and homelessness or houselessness. I don't frankly see a difference, but that's all right. and aging and disability and youth leadership. So it would make sense, I think, to set up a little subcommittee on each of those.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because actually the way that the agenda is built tonight, if you'll notice, there's the work plan and then a subcommittee report, perhaps to give us a sense that these subcommittees can exist and operate. And then we actually wanted to do, to start talking about the Nicole Anderson report in an effort to start to take on one of those work areas, right? And then the last thing was to literally set up subcommittees. So if you follow the thinking that we had, it was get the work plan going, hear from a subcommittee that's already operating, have a little time to get into, I would argue, something meaty and very, very rooted in social and economic justice, which is this report that is really lengthy, but just, I think what we wanted to have was some time to discuss it and review it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final thing would be to create these subcommittees and then start doing some work. So I also want to, I'm glad you brought that up, Bart, because there's one other thing that I wanted to say, which was there was a council member that had a really interesting, it was sort of related to what you're talking about, Jim, earlier on in the meeting, which was this balance between sort of what is an Albany activist and then commission work and, government versus inside, outside, that sort of thing. And one of the council members sort of brought up the bowl. I know this is a huge history here, but the Brown Act, it requires us to do a certain type of work within some constraints that an outside activist organization does not deal with. And I think we just need to continue to be aware of that, because because of the work of the Brown Act begs the question of of making sure that the public has access to what we're doing. So I guess I just wanted to bring it up because when we were discussing the work plan, there was one of the council members just wanted us to remember that there is another way to do social and economic justice work that is, outside of a commission. So yeah. Okay. So any comments on, anyone want to make a comment on the work plan? And then I'll open it up to the public. Yeah, Jim?
I guess this is just sort of brainstorming. I think what Bart proposed is reasonable. Another possible way to strategically approach this work would be to say take 3 items at a time off the work plan,
Right.
Which we had talked about before, and really focus on those. And then when we finish one of them, okay, we can check it off and move to the next one down. And we could go in the order of greatest interest per our votes a couple months ago, or we could just see what people want to work on first, just even if it wasn't like the most popular thing, but that's what 2 or 3 people really want to do, who are we to say, right? So that would be another way. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with forming 4 subcommittees. I just want to throw that out as I like the second way better because it's a little more focused, but I could live with what Bart proposed. Oops.
Muted, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Just to be clear, so that to keep us all on the same page, it sounds like there are the two things that are being discussed is one would be, let's shoot this work into subcommittees and do a little work, come back, hear about it, vet it, get public comment. So one, the first one is this mechanism of the subcommittee, and then the second, which is kind of what's happening tonight. Tonight is kind of a combination, to be honest, is what Jim is naming is actually spending time, all of us together, unpacking, discussing each of the work plan items. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe it shoots into subcommittee work later. So I want to make sure that the public has a chance to comment, as well as people that haven't had a chance to comment on the commission. So Bart, do you want to clarify something or add? Oh, you're muted now. It's tonight a night of muting.
Muted myself. Okay. So I think we can combine the two approaches. That is, if we get 4 subcommittees working, then we can intensively work on one item at a time. We don't necessarily have to dwell on each subcommittee in every meeting. But so we can take one of the subcommittees work that may take several meetings, get through that, and then pick up another one. But the advantage of having subcommittees is that work goes on other topics while the commission is meeting, so that when we're ready to do the next thing, there's a report.
Okay, I want to get the public to comment, and then we'll see about doing, taking some next steps. So if we can open up, I see there's one hand, and I think it would be, is it 2 or 3 minutes? Is there a 3? 3, okay, perfect, okay. So if someone can move Julie in and put 3 minutes on the.
Hi, thank you again for letting me in. I had a few comments. I'm not sure if you're going to keep, can you hear me? Oh,
yes, yes.
I have a message in front of me. The host would like to promote you to be a panelist, join as panelist, stay as attendee. So should I just click on stay as attendee? I'm getting a
question. Stay as attendee. I guess stay as attendee. Can we start her timer again and then stay as attendee, Julie?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, the message went away, but it
was
there is blocking my screen. Okay. So start over again.
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to just, I'm not sure if you're going to just be having one comment period per, I guess, per this item. So I wanted to mention about the vocabulary. I think that the vocabulary is complicated. I think different people respond to different terms. Homelessness, some of the people I work with use the word homelessness, some use houselessness, some use unhoused, some use home free. So I think that maybe one approach would be to maybe talk to some people or be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of different language. I myself, I shake it up. I use different language so that I'm trying to sort of hitting on everybody's language. That's my approach. I love home free. It's my favorite one, but it's used more by the youth. I wanted to talk also about the city council meeting where one of the council members said that there was too many, as you mentioned, that there's already enough bodies and they didn't have the bandwidth. And I think I would like to know what the other bodies are doing and how often they meet, and maybe they could meet less often and look at the social justice aspects of what they're doing, because I feel like it's hard to see a social justice aspect of what they're doing, except maybe CMAC, of which I am chair, so I'm prejudiced. I also wanted to say that I think that I like the idea, just to support the idea of having subcommittees and then reporting back. And then I wanted to make the record clear on exactly what did happen when there was a homeless task force. I know that there was a long story by one of the counselors about the city council members about what happened, which was not accurate. And so I just want to clarify that, because I think it will help you. If the SEJC is truly an advisory body, then you need to be listened to. And the homeless task force was supposed to be an advisory body. We were given, that was our charge. We spent more than a year meeting, coming up with ideas. We laid out the ideas for the city council and went through a staff member at the city who added another option, which was to kick everybody off the bulb and not wait till they had housing. And that was the option that was chosen by the city council. It did not come from the homeless task force. The way that it was portrayed by the council member was not accurate. And it was really insulting, I think, to those of us who were actually on the homeless task force. I think having a homeless task force, a home free task force, whatever it is, really needs to happen. Only it needs to be clear that that task force actually is going to be listened to. Otherwise, there's no point. The city is just going to discard everything you say. And the same with the youth task force. I think that needs to be made very clear that if they meet for months and months and months, bring in people to talk, interview people, whatever, and then make suggestions and nothing happens, there's no point, and it's extremely frustrating. So I think that needs to be clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. Okay, are there any other comments from the public? Okay, just doing one final breath. Okay, so let's go here to Commissioner Cannoli. Comments? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say thank you so much, Julie, for bringing this up. And I also want to say thank you so very much for always attending our meeting. But I think it's very, I think as the SCJC, we should bring it up. I think it's important because we are serving the community and we want to be as honest and straightforward as we can so that we can, better the community. So I think it's definitely, I don't know how we can go about this, but I would love to talk about it and kind of elaborate on this specific situation if we can and if it is appropriate. Just because, I mean, for Julie to always attend, and Margie as well. I'm sorry if I don't know your pronouns. I would say Miss Julie or Miss Margie, but without them coming to our meetings, every single meeting, and them attending the city council meeting, I mean, geez, I can't imagine how much they really care about the community, and we should also care about the community as much as they do, as well as we're on the Social Economic Justice Commission. So they need to also be heard. So I think it's important that we do talk about it and we kind of do give space to be okay with talking about the situation. Hopefully that makes sense, but yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Sierra. Corey, yes.
Yeah. I want to introduce some brief framings, perspectives, just since it seems like the language stuff isn't going to be resolved, and I think that's very real, and I want there to be space for that. One of the groups I'm more familiar with is the Coalition on Homelessness in San Francisco, and my understanding is that it's a sort of reclaiming instead of letting this. I studied linguistics in undergrad, and there is a revolving carousel of, well, this term is more respectable. Oh, now that it's starting to be used, it degrades. So we have a new one. And that is really hard to keep up with. And the words that we use affect how we think about things. And so thinking of a house as a home, and someone who doesn't have a house can't have a home, right? So yeah, it's a huge, really hard, there isn't a good answer. And I want to bring in thinking about the Roma in Europe, a very persecuted and not much known about here, certainly not in any of my classes ever, racial and ethnic minority and cultural minority who, and depending on sources, which are all full of various biases, maybe some preference to be more migratory and have that relationship with the land, but also maybe that's because of ongoing stigma and prejudice and discrimination forcing them to be migratory. And I think that the way that our society is set up makes it really, really hard for anyone who prefers to be migratory and does the blaming, oh, well, they prefer it. So I think that's an issue here, right? And it has become, it always was a race issue here as well. So I just want those pieces as we're talking about how, yeah, and there is a lot of resistance to, well, but we can just have social services that are built into the city that will kind of handle, they just need some services. And it is this intricate language and culture and race and all of these pieces. So yeah, I just wanted to name those.
Thank you, Chair Dosty, or Chair Dosty. Corey, I think you're absolutely right. And I just really want to appreciate Julie, which is that, really facing that. I mean, I think a lot of us, lots of people just want to get it right, and really that's actually really not what it's about. It's about staying in, lots of this stuff is work, it's the labor of keeping up and understanding communities that you may not be part of or that you are part of, but there's constant work and evolution that takes place. So I would just encourage all of us to do some outside labor and to learn more so that we have our chops up in these meetings. Yeah, Bart.
Let me just say one brief thing, and then I don't want to distract us into a long discussion about this. But I think that when we think about language, we really should think about the language of the people that we're talking about and how they refer to themselves. As a social worker, I had lots of early experiences being taught in classes how to refer to people, and then finding out that they didn't want to be referred to that way at all. So I don't necessarily feel that language should be dictated by committees and commissions and people who really are working on the problem but may not actually have it, or maybe it's not a problem. I mean, homelessness has to do with people's self-declared feeling that they don't have a home. There are lots of people who are migratory who live together and feel that they have a home. So, at any rate, let's not sort of tell other people who they are and how they should think about themselves. And anybody who wants to be called a particular thing because of how they identify, I'm more than comfortable to do that. Okay?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I think that it's that beloved term, both and, it's all those things, and there's probably even more things that aren't even that we're not even discussing here tonight. But understanding with humility that we're going to make mistakes and that we are constantly need to be learning, and not assuming, like Bart's saying, not, oh, we learned it, okay, there it is. I want to make sure that Will and Commissioner Garrett Pinguello have a chance, I think, and Jim, if you have a comment as well. I think you did have a comment earlier, but we haven't heard your voices. So Will, Jeremiah, do you have anything you wanted to add? Yeah, Will, and then you there, Will?
From what I heard from Commissioner Grossman, that's kind of how I see it too. I guess in school we've always been taught to say like homeless, and that's all I've ever heard. But whatever people want to refer to themselves as, that's what I'll happily do. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Garrett Pinguello, did you have any comments? I think right now we're on the language, but we're going to move it back into the work plan. We're sort of in a in an eddy of a river, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but no?
No
Okay.
comments at this point, no.
Gotcha. Thanks. Okay, Bart and then Jim. Did you have your hand up already? Sorry. Okay. Jim.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's very hard to sort out. And so the right thing to do is whatever somebody says, as best you can possibly remember, because sometimes they're contradictory. I'll tell you this, when I used to study karate, and Black Belt 1 would say, do this form like this, and then you'd go over and do it, and Black Belt 2 would say, oh, that's wrong, you need to do it this other way. And, you know, go back to Black Belt 1 and they're saying that's wrong. You know, it's like, ah. And so that sometimes happens with language. And what I learned to do in karate was, when I'm with Black Belt 1, I do it their way. And when I'm with Black Belt 2, I'll do it their way. So I don't see any other way around it. It's got to be the people themselves saying how they want to be identified, and we just need to deal with that, and that's reality, right? You know, that's respect.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So to get us back on the work plan, and to just it sounds like we're clear. We got a work plan. It sounds like, I guess I want a little bit of clarity as I continue to build agendas in the upcoming months. And with, I think I'm just doing that. And in collaboration, Anne Marie's been super helpful. So it sounds like, unless I hear other comments, that what we'd like to do is perhaps at each meeting discuss a meatier part of the work plan and go, you know, tonight we're actually looking at the part of the work plan, I think it's called racial justice, racial equity. I have to look at the work plan real quick. Oh, here it is. Okay, so if you look at the work plan, which I'm pulling up right now, the first, and this actually had the most votes. It was racial equity and social justice. And underneath it are 3 bullet points, which are looking at the report by Nicole Anderson's, looking at reparations, which, looking at reparations for groups denied residence in Albany. And lastly, monitoring progress on the Lijan Ohlone tribe. And then it goes to mental health, like Bart was saying, housing, aging, disability, homebound, and then youth leadership. So what I'd like to do is suggest that, and this is on our agenda tonight, is after the subcommittee report, we move into a discussion of Nicole Anderson's report. I guess I want to move us along just so that we don't stay too long in the work plan. It sounds like, hey, we got a work plan, let's move on, unless I see any other comments. Yeah, okay, moving along. Exciting that we have a subcommittee report. I want to turn it over to what is a report from the Mental Health Subcommittee. Bart and Will, thank you.
As Jeremiah here, I'm on the committee too. I just want to say one thing, that the subcommittee on the scheduling, we tried to meet, I guess like 5 times. It was kind of hard to get everybody to meet on this scheduling with the Zoom and all this stuff. And then I was unable to attend the 4th or 5th one. I was able to attend the first ones, but the last one ended up being on a Thursday when I'm in the middle of the laundry program. It was supposed to be at 7 o'clock, but that laundry program went on till about 7 o'clock. So it's kind of a scheduling conflict when I'm in the middle of doing a laundry program, trying to have a meeting almost at the same time. But I was going to add that to that. The only thing I really wanted to say about that was that we should have mental health for kids and students first. You know, kids, students, senior citizens, and then unhoused individuals.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremiah. I think we caught all of your comments. I apologize for not including you. I know you are part of the subcommittee, but weren't able to meet. So I apologize for that mistake. And then I also, there was something else that you said that I wanted to reference, but now I can't remember what it was. Okay, anyway, I'm going to move to the folks that have a report.
Will, is it okay with you if I take the lead?
Sorry, I will, just as a reminder to the public, we will have public comment after the report.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I can add anything that I feel is missed.
Okay, great. So what we did was we took the last sort of summary we got from the city, from Laura, who basically laid out for us. And if you look at the item, the first thing there is this memo from Laura Scaglione on an update on mental health services. And this is based on the transition from Berkeley mental health to the county mental health. So what we were charged to do was to come up with questions that needed to be answered about mental health. And that's what we did. So the next document, you'll see, it says draft questions re mental health in Albany. Do we want to put that up, or people have it? Does everybody have it? Everybody have it? Okay.
I have it. If you don't have it, maybe just wave. I think we're okay, Bart.
Okay, if we all have it. So just to summarize, it's not go into a lot of detail, but there are several sets of questions. The first has to do with how did we get here? That is, was there any Albany input in the decision to move to the county? Where did the funding go in the previous years that Berkeley says it never got? Where, who got it? And is it somewhere that Berkeley should have it? And then a point about the fact that we are losing some services that would be available if we were working through Berkeley. And then do we have any feedback from Albany residents on the effectiveness of the county services? I've been hearing some negative feedback about the phone line. So, do we know anything about how people in Albany are able to use this and what they think about it? Then the obvious fact that there are no agencies in Albany. They're in the list that the county gave us. There are 3 independent providers in Albany. So those are just therapists who get money from the county. But there's no agency here. So how do people get assessed, and do they always have to go somewhere else for service? So that's one issue. And then the memo listed some services that are available, such as crisis stabilization, community-based wellness centers, case management, and we wondered, are any of these located near Albany? And one example being a wellness center in Berkeley, and which is a brand new thing, which would be great for Albany residents, except none of us, we're not eligible to anything in Berkeley anymore. So that's a serious loss. And then I was wondering about innovative funding, which paid for the mental health services that are available in the high school. Are those innovative grants going to be available to Albany from the county? And that's certainly going to be a much more competitive situation for us than to get the money from Berkeley Mental Health. And then coming from that, the mobile crisis team, which is a particular issue, there was a presentation made to the city council. And the presenter said pretty clearly that it would be unlikely that a mobile crisis team would be available in Berkeley, because there are 2 for the county. One is designated for Oakland. That means we'd be competing with the whole rest of the county for a mobile crisis team. The presenter said it would at least take an hour, and probably there wouldn't be a team available. So that's a problem. We really don't have mobile crisis services. So we were asking, can we get a presentation from the county, finding out the numbers of people who are being seen, and what the outcomes are. We never hear about outcomes. And then can we get some feedback from our residents, maybe through the survey that the city is planning to do on how much difficulty they're having accessing mental health services. So that's sort of what we worked on together. And that's what I'm presenting for us. And I just had 3 suggestions. We haven't discussed these, so this is just coming from me, and I want to make that clear. But I would suggest that we need, first of all, we need a subcommittee to continue working on mental health. And then I think we need several reports very quickly that should be made to the whole committee. One is, we need a report from the staff on how the city was involved, how this transition happened, how the decisions were taken, and how the current arrangements are working from the staff point of view. And I'm sure Anne Marie has a picture of some picture of that. And then we need a presentation from county behavioral health with outcomes and data showing that our people are in fact being served and what happens to them. And then I think we should have a presentation from Berkeley Mental Health about the things that would be available if we were still connected to Berkeley Mental Health, and what the city might have to do in order to be connected. For example, could the money that the county is spending on Albany, in fact, be given to Berkeley so that we could have the mobile crisis team again? Or could city council pay for mobile crisis? It can. I think the cost is $45,000 that Berkeley arrived at. So those are some steps I think we should be taking. Those are the questions we arrived at. And that's my report. Jeremiah, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is just to emphasize, like, it really seemed like county resources won't work. Just because the low reliability and just under-resourced. So if we really want to dig deeply, I think it would definitely be good to look kind of towards Berkeley and other options.
Thank you both. Commissioner Garrett Pinguello?
Yeah, so today when I was talking with the gentleman from BACS, he was explaining that BACS, Berry Community Services, started originally as a mental health group. That's the first thing they did. And they started, I guess, 1980s. So they still have mental health thing, and they're ran by the county. And so I asked him, I said, so what about Albany? Do you have any outreach in Albany? And he says, no, we don't have an office in that city. But if someone comes to him and says, they're experiencing houselessness right now, and they're from Albany, he does refer them to the city of Albany. I guess he contacts somebody at the city. I'm not sure. But that could be one option they're basically a nonprofit and they're contracted through the city. So maybe the city could use that nonprofit to help with mental health as emergency services. So we should check into BACS.
So I guess, Bart, I'm wondering with just in terms of what a next step for our commission is. Are we to accept the report, or is there something we should do now?
I think accepting the report is a good thing to do at this moment. This would provide a framework for a subcommittee, and then if we can decide later if you want to do it that way on the subcommittee. So this really provides a kind of a work plan for the subcommittee.
I see. Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move acceptance of the report.
All right. Corey?
I'll have comments first.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I really like number 3. I think that's brilliant to get Berkeley to be like, well, this is what we could provide, because I don't think that there's going to be any listening to this isn't good enough, because it looks good on paper. But I think I just I don't know. I didn't end up on the subcommittee, but I'm very interested and invested, and I have personal history in a number of ways. And I would just also say, in asking for data from the county about services, outcomes, even just numbers, I don't know that they're gonna always have denied. I know that sometimes agencies or orgs track that, or just we couldn't do anything for them. I know that CARES did. That was nice to see, actually tracking that. But that still doesn't cover avoiding. Like, I tried access the county phone line twice, and I just don't use it now. I use other things because I know it's going to be a bad experience that isn't worth it. So, and that's going to be really hard to cover in any kind of data, right? So I know anecdotes, it's still really important. And I'm not sure how to convey that to the council in a way that's convincing, other than I do really like, hey, Berkeley would be all of these things. And we've heard that those are appreciated and the county isn't. And here's why numbers will fail a little bit, right? Because I think there is this over-reliance on numbers and not realizing where that you're not getting all the people who are just like, I know not to go there. So that's what I would say. And then I would second, yes.
Thank you. Jeremiah.
Yeah, one last thing. One last option available is obviously lifelong medical. I know many people with their streets team and administration and streets team in multiple cities. Lifelong medical does have like mental health. And so I'm pretty sure they might be able to help out with some of the mental health. Also, hopefully someday, maybe our fire department can offer, a drop-in center to where, school children, a senior citizen, or anybody from Albany could just drop in the fire department and just, get a mental health evaluation or a counselor or just to talk to somebody. So I think maybe the fire department would be a good venue for mental health instead of the police department.
Okay, are there any other comments from other commissioners about the report or it sounds like, before I say what it sounds like? Okay, I'm gonna go to public comment and if we can move Julie in and put 3 minutes on the clock.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, I just wanted to say that I'm glad that you're talking about mental health in Albany. I would like to see something happen, but I also my question is this something that the American Rescue Plan Act funding could be used for? I know that it, in the proposed budget, that at the city council meeting last night, there was something about, I can't remember, but anyway, I just wondering if this is something that there's a lot of money there. And I was wondering if this is something, since mental health was one of the topics that is allowed as a way of using the funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Okay. So, this is the second time the public, or Julie, has talked about this source of funding, and so I think we have some work to do to learn. I feel a little out of my element talking about this issue. I haven't listened in on the city council, and I imagine these conversations are happening there, but it's hard for me to know how to steer this when there's this question. So I want to take Bart's comment and then Jeremiah's.
Just by way of response, yes, the money can be used for that, for mental health and for the development of alternatives to police intervention. The problem, of course, is it's one-time money. So we need a source that would be for every year. So that would, but it could be used to get something started.
Jeremiah?
So yeah, last night in the city council meeting, they were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess the money is good for 4 years. They could spend it up to 2000. It was 4 years from now. The finance director was talking about it. And also apparently there's something upwards of $4 million in this fund. And the finance director was presenting something for only like 1.5 million. But that was for, I guess, quote unquote residential, and then there's another business aspect of the rest of that fund, which is going to be probably another 1.5 million. But I guess there's 4 million total, and they're using a little bit now and saving some for reserves for later. But their goal is to spend all the money and then say the programs are working really well, and then ask the government, the federal, for more money.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Yeah, the motion on the floor is to accept the report. That's the subcommittee report, Bart.
Yes.
Not to recommend anything to the council at this time.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say that, well, can I ask another question? What would it cost to rejoin Berkeley?
Well, that's why we need a presentation from Berkeley.
Okay.
And it may be there are different amounts for different services. So
Right. Okay. Because common sense would sort of suggest that would be the most cost-effective way to do what really needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And then if we can't win council support, we could ask them to say, to kind of keep, if they're saying they don't have the money, and they really may not, it's a matter of prioritizing. Then can they not just say, no, we're not doing it, but they can put it on a list of things that they're going to do when they can find funding for it? So they acknowledge it needs to be done at least. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, when we're ready to move on this, as always, you've heard this from me before, we need to be calling the people that appointed us and making the case, warning them this is coming in, and making the case as to why, and answering their questions and stuff like that. And then somebody has to show up at the actual meeting, and that's the way you tend to get stuff passed. So it's doable, but we got to do our side of it. So yeah.
So let's see about moving to a vote. And then what I'd like to do is to get us into talking about the Nicole Anderson report, so that actually perhaps the next meeting we can then talk about have Berkeley have mental health a real central, like Nicole Anderson is a real central part of the agenda, and dig even deeper into what seems like a really important issue for the city of Albany. And I do remember council mentioning it. So I do think this is on their radar, and hopefully we can help and support some solutions. So we have a motion on the floor. I believe we have a second.
Corey.
And yeah, great. And Anne-Marie, can we do a roll call?
Okay. So this is to accept the subcommittee report.
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Commissioner Baiman?
Yes.
Commissioner Dosty?
That was a yes, correct?
It was a yes.
Commissioner Cannoli?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello,
Yeah.
and Chair Zapata.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for that work, that labor that the people put in to that. Okay. So this next item is 6.3, and it is titled Review and Discuss Nicole Anderson and Associates Racial Equity Impact Plan. So our goal, according to our agenda that's public, is to review and discuss the plan and identify priorities from the document that could be recommended to council. So, Bart?
I just wanted to suggest that we look at page 8, because page 8 has recommendations for next steps. A lot of the rest of the document is boilerplate.
Yeah.
But that's the one that says what should be done.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. I actually, so yes. So I'm going to actually share my screen just so the public can see this. Anyone who perhaps, okay. So on here it says, and if you are at home, what it has is a systems change framework. So you'll see at the top this, and this comes from a write-up that, or a framework that, I wish I could name who these people are, but I know it's a well-used framework. It's called Water for Systems Change. And so at the top, there are policies, practices, and resources. And I think the idea is that oftentimes we just do this. We, kind of enact these policies and practices, but underneath the policies and practices exist relationships. So these are internal and external. They involve communication. Oftentimes those relationships relate to the change work that needs to happen in a community. And then power dynamics, right? And then finally, these at the very bottom are these mental models. So the ideas and the kind of beliefs that underlie all of these things. So on here is 9 next steps, and I just want to give ourselves and perhaps the public a moment to read these. Okay, so I guess I want to start off by saying that, I want to try to help us have a bit of a focus. I think we could probably find ourselves all over the place and leave tonight having, sort of a discussion that winds around different places. But I appreciate you, Bart, for orienting us to page 8. I actually was thinking that we would tonight look at this, which is on page 8. It's the first thing, is the equity statement. So, and that is on page 10. So I thought to avoid getting too all over the place, perhaps we could focus our work on that first one, which is to take a look at the equity statement and discuss that. So how does that feel? Yeah, Bart?
I think one thing we need to do, I'm fine with talking about the equity statement. Mm-hmm. And I think those of us who were involved before can give you some insight on where this equity statement came from. But at any rate, I think one thing we need to do is, and then you mentioned last night that some on the council feel that this is no longer an SCJC issue. So we need to know from the staff, what in fact are they doing? If this has been delegated to the staff, have they done anything about anything? And what have they done? So that we get a picture of whether I fear that not much has been done, if anything, and that the danger is we go to sleep here on this whole set of issues after spending a year on it. So anyway, that's a long way of saying we need to get a picture of what the council is actually doing about this, and whether the staff is actually following through, or whether it's just been left on the table.
Thank you. Great questions. I am aware that someone in the public has their hand up, so I'd actually like to go to public comment. So if we can move in Margie and put 3 minutes on the timer.
Hi, thank you. This is Margie Marks. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say I was a member of the commission when we worked on this report. And even then, I felt this way. And as a member of the public, I feel this way. I feel like we could have the most perfect equity statement on the planet, but it doesn't matter if other stuff in Albany doesn't change. And so, you know, they were driving us to, you know, get this wonderful equity statement. And I wanted, you know, to change the police, how they operate in Albany, to do other, you know, to do things that would make a difference for equity in the community. And so, I mean, some of us commission members felt like that whole thing was a waste of time. And it was to get the commission really not just to talk, do a lot of talking and a lot of repeating talking and a lot of repetition, and not really do anything. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margie. Julie, if we can move Julie in and put 3 more minutes on the clock.
Hi, thanks. I didn't expect you to have a comment so soon on this. I agree with what Margie just said, and I appreciate her comments. I'm feeling, I guess, cynical would be the word about what's about this whole thing, about the report, about what equity is, about, I agree with Bart that what are the city actually doing? I think the doing is more important than I mean, it's nice to have an equity statement, but if you're not doing anything, I think it's pointless. And it actually is, I think Bart said this, you know, it just kind of gets lost. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I just know that after watching the Nicole Anderson meetings and after attending SCJC and city council, and I just feel like it's not incremental ease. It would even be a more positive term than what's happening in Albany. So I don't know what I'm saying, except that I feel the same way. I also had a comment about this equity statement itself. For one thing, I think that the word predicted is supposed to be predicated. I think it's a mistake. I mean, a typo in there. And I also think that if we're going to have an equity statement, we should include housing status. Or socioeconomic status. Housing status is not a protected class. And of course it overlaps, it's intersectional with a lot of these other things, but we don't actually talk about it. So I would like to see that included. I don't know what else to say. I guess yeah, I hate to feel cynical. I'm not really a cynical person, but this is wearing me down, attending meeting after meeting, listening to Nicole Anderson, meeting after meeting after meeting, going to city council and having the city council members shooting down every single good thing that could be done, or almost everything. And it's discouraging. So I hope that you're able to find some action that could be taken and something that comes out of this where you push the city, or don't let things slide, or get a lot of people to come to meetings and support it. Whatever it is, I'd like to see something really happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess one thing before I start calling on people, I want to actually take a look at this really briefly and say that number 5, number 5 moves us out of the theoretical. So number 5, and by the way, number 3 is actually supposedly starting to happen. There's the subcommittee of Jim, Sierra, and I moved through a community survey, but doing listening sessions, revising the city. Here is support the launch of an Office of Racial Equity, Human Rights, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I guess I just want to, in honoring what our public is saying, I think that number 5 is perhaps something very concrete that I really want to honor the frustration that I'm hearing, and I don't doubt us as a commission also has a sense of frustration, but the fact that our public is, that attends these meetings regularly, this is really important, and that we can start to do some things that create the change that we can see in our environment, right, is important. So I'm going to open up a conversation for us. And I wanted to start off by sort of just suggesting perhaps that 5 become some work that we focus on. I'm going to start off with Jim.
Okay. You took some of my words right out of my mouth, and thank you very much for that. I wanted to say regarding is staff doing anything? I'm not sure what direction staff was given, but it's actually pretty normal that some kind of master plan or report is created, the council accepts it, and then it sits on a shelf and gathers dust. Not just on DEI. There are lots of things. Talk to anybody who's done this kind of work, whatever the subject matter is. In staff's defense, there's no way they can work on everything. Council's got to prioritize, and council has to, give them the resources they need to get it done. But also, maybe not so positive, a lot of staff members don't have DEI uppermost in their mind, and therefore it's not going to tend to get done unless council directs it to get done. Staff will do what council says is a priority. They will. But council's got to do that. So the good side is that councils now, as it's different than the way it used to be on a commission. Councils now, when they approve your work plan, they are showing some openness to what's on that work plan, which didn't used to be the case back in the day. And that's a good sign. The fact that item was, rather high up on the list, and they were like, yeah, cool, go for it, implies that they may be open. And also, in all fairness, although I'd like this council to do more, I think this council has so far been the most DEI friendly we've ever had. I don't mean it's perfect. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think there's potential here. So just to wrap it up, because I see my 2 minutes are about up. I was going to ask, are these 9 things in order? Because to me, number 5 is the obvious one that we want to go for. And I'm so glad that Chair Zapata said that. You could argue for doing number 1, the equity statement, as low-hanging fruit. If we didn't spend too much time arguing about, every letter or word in there or something, we could get an equity statement that might sort of be a bit of a guide, and that could have some value and help us do other things. But I'm in complete agreement that number 5 should be the thing that we focus on.
Other comments? Jeremiah?
Yeah, I just want to say, I can't prioritize any of these really, because they're all equally important in my book. And, you know, basically for me, I've attended a lot of these meetings with Nicole Anderson, and to me, it's about system. I can't pronounce the word correctly. Forgive me. Systemic. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't say it right now.
Systemically.
Systemically. Okay. Thanks. Systemically, and there's a lot of things that are still like that, and I see it. So I think that's only gonna heal with, you know, new people and staff and committees and in the future. And maybe people just to change their ways. I don't know, but these are all equally important, and I can't prioritize any of them really. But systemically, there's a lot of things that are just still in place, and it's right in front of our faces, and I just can't believe it. So maybe, you know, coaching, classes, I don't know. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Anyone who hasn't spoken in a while, I know that, you know, I guess what we're talking about right now is that list of things on page 10, I'm sorry, 8. So 9, 8 or 9. It says 8 at the bottom, but that list of, so I don't know, Will, do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, I guess my general thoughts are, I think they are all kind of should be prioritized. I don't really think they all are of like equal. Of course, they all will create equal value, but I don't think they will help as much as others. And I really like 5, like the idea of tangible action. A few of them, especially like rewriting or just overlooking policies, just seems like a little broad and a little just like not busy work, but kind of work that wouldn't be as meaningful, like time spent. So that's why I really want to like look at 5 and other kind of actions like that.
Thank you. Corey? Just wondering if you have some comments.
Yeah, I've been thinking about how I think the value of statements is establishing shared values, and that is really important in a lot of group contexts, such as here. For collaboration, I don't think that it translates into here as a city, we've put out a statement that we will totally all follow and all of our staff totally believe in and it's actualized. I don't think it works that way. I wish that it did. So I sort of similarly feel that while a statement could be good for us in articulating maybe our values, what we want to change, where we're coming from, and getting more solid on that, I think that's where its value would be.
Interestingly, as we talk about this, I'm just wondering about if by creating an office of, I don't have the wording entirely down, but Office of Racial Equity and Human Rights / Equity, Diversity, Inclusion. It has to have a shorter name, but or some sort of acronym that you could remember. But I wonder about creating an office that, you know, could really continue to do some of this. I mean, again, that could actually not only articulate an equity statement, but join together all the many disparate, like, how do we, I mean, frankly, it has to be a theory of change It has to be very clear. If then, there have to be if then statements. If you do this, then this will happen. There has to be measurable outcomes that aren't sort of like, well, sort of, you know, that we're seeing the needle being moved. And this was some of the things we, you know, Sierra, Jim and I talked about when we started talking about the survey. Sierra, I wanted to get any thoughts you had on any of this.
It's funny because I feel like everyone took the words right out of my mouth, and I wish I could say more, but I can't because everyone kind of like is on the same page as I. So,
okay, cool.
I'm sorry, I can't get anything else, but like everyone
don't apologize.
All the good points. So
yeah. Good. Okay. Awesome. Just, you know, making sure our birds are all flying in the right direction.
Kind of going. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, I spoke over you. What was that?
Oh, no, but I spoke over you. But thank you for including all of us that has yet to speak.
Yes. Okay. Bart, I see you with your hand up.
Yeah. I really want to support number 5 because I think it's a matter of the city putting its money where its mouth is. And these changes are going to take time. They can't be done in 5 minutes. So having somebody present on an ongoing basis to support and lead this, I think is essential. I'm much more interested in that than the equity statement. The equity statement that's here, I don't know where, I think it came from the consultants. It certainly didn't come from the commission. And my feeling is that an equity statement to represent the whole community of Albany cannot be the views of 5 people. It needs to have a wide array of citizen input. You know, and I think that, for example, the listening sessions never happened. The rest of them, they should happen. So I think we probably need a subcommittee to flesh out some of these things, because the city's not going to want to just have, you know, you need an officer, but what is that going to cost? What is it going to look like? What are the duties? How does it relate to other parts of the city? That sort of thing. So there's work to be done, but I would agree that one gives this effort a future, and makes it much harder to bury it.
Yes, Jeremiah.
Okay, yeah, so I changed my mind. You know, if I were to prioritize these, five is great. I mean, having a physical office, you know, in a pandemic is great. But I would say my priority is number 8, because I would start with the youth, and that's where we could really make a difference. I mean, that's what it all comes down to anyway, is teaching the youth. And then number 7, because how are you going to do any of this if you don't have outreach? So my priority number 1 is 8, and then my number 2 is 7.
Thank you. I see, Jim, I want to call on you, and then I have some comments, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that, maybe we should, before we send a recommendation, have a subcommittee and then put it on the agenda for next time or something. But that's a good suggestion. I sort of feel like with an equity statement, the survey to give that, you know, with an equity officer, I don't know about if it's an office per se, but at least an equity officer, a full-time staffer on this, that if they have the survey data plus a statement that sort of indicates mission, or we have a common definition of what equity means, because I'm afraid that this officer tries to do work and then people are like arguing about what equity means. I've seen that happen. And people who are basically opposed to it start picking at the word, you know. So it should be pretty straightforward to get number 1, the equity statement, and I think it could help the person do their work and help us do our work. I think number 3 is important. We just need to follow up on it, make sure it's happening. That's the survey, because we need data. We need those measurable numbers. We need to be able to show. We need to hold the community, hold ourselves accountable. But we really need that equity officer. And with that, we can do all 9, right? Because you've got the officer to lead that happen, and then you've got the SCJC and community groups that are, helping to make it, that are supporting them, and they're supporting us in doing this. But obviously the city is going to rightfully ask what it's going to cost and job description and all that stuff. So there's work to be done before we send a recommendation in.
Well, I love that we've chosen the one thing that the council was really not into, which was to hire this officer. So I actually think it's great, because I think it's probably the most threatening thing on here. And business as usual in Albany should be threatened, in my opinion. And I don't mean that in a violent way, but I do mean it in a way that is disruptive. Because in order to create this racial equity and racial justice, we are going to need to disrupt some things. So one thing that I wanted to say, I also feel very strongly that an officer is important. And I actually think, I want to build on Bart's comment, which is that ideally an equity, this position would bring people together to do things like a listening session. And, to be honest, the organizing, the sort of community work that I'm part of, I'm helping found an organization called Albany Uprising. If any of you are interested, meetings for you to go to. But one of the things we've, been talking about is, the incident that happened at Albany High School with the Instagram, the racist Instagram incident. And that is a wound that is not healed. It continues to be glossed over, and we need to return there and face the reality of a very difficult and painful reality. And instead, we just kind of keep rolling forward. So I actually think an officer needs to convene a long process that may get us to an equity statement, but it is not, sorry, that's my timer going off. It's not, the statement, I agree with Bart. It cannot be simple. It must be the outcome of a long process that isn't consultants that come in from the outside. I actually think something homegrown that is coming out of Albany is actually really important, because we have some work of facing our past in order to create a future. And I don't think that any statement can come out of a process that does not do that. So I guess just to recap, I want us to focus on 5, and that I want us to focus on 5 with an understanding that a process needs to happen in our city where we face some very difficult history. Any other comments? I see Jim's hand. Anyone who hasn't commented recently want to say something? Corey?
Yeah, I won't say much because I'm on the community task force on policing, and I'm not super clear about how to hold separate versus overlap. But to me, it was really clear this came out of the George Floyd uprisings, and that a lot of the testimony was either about racism at Albany High / the whole school system, or about racist experiences with Albany police, in being stopped and asked why they're here. You don't look like you're from around here. Do you live here? In kind of the same thing for traffic. And it overlaps with youth. There's teenagers. Right. So, and to me, that's the material things is stopping those. And I'm not very familiar with how an office could do that. I do think that's what I've been trying to do over at the Community Task Force on Policing. So I just wanted to name that, as that is where I'm like, and it's not exactly reviewing police policies and procedures. That's certainly not how I would go about it, but addressing these really, the pain points that I've heard in the testimonies at the listening sessions were mostly the schools and the police. And so those are the things that stand out to me. And so maybe I would prioritize addressing the school stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Jim, and then Bart.
I was going to say that it seemed like we had mostly a consensus for number 5, and that maybe a motion would be in order. I do want to say just real quickly that number 9, I think, on that list was policing, but remember it was done before we had the task force, and so it may be that we are not really expecting the equity officer to coordinate that, because that has a separate body that's doing that. I mean, although I think there's room for assistance in that area, that we shouldn't just say, oh, the task force has it, and then we're going to forget about it. But so number 9 is kind of happening. Number 3 is hopefully happening already. The other thing I wanted to say is, besides school and police, I've heard from a lot of people of color repeated stories of being unwelcome in Albany businesses. Repeated, like every freaking time you ask somebody, right? Like that's the lived experience of especially Black folk that I've spoken to. And it's shocking for white folk. We don't know what that's like. But it appears to be like really frighteningly common. So I would add that to the list of stuff that people have to go through. But anyway, would a motion be in order for number 5? I don't necessarily need to make it, but I think we've got at least a majority. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if we might want to do some subcommittee work before that.
Oh, I just mean to prioritize it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not to send it as a recommendation. Just that we're saying number 5 is our priority.
So let's get Bart's comment here.
Well, I was really going to suggest that we identify a subcommittee, and that we direct the subcommittee to consider all of these, but to give priority to 5 and also to 8 and 9. We don't have to choose just one, but hopefully they'll look at all of them. But we could say to the subcommittee, please emphasize these 3. And around 5, give us a specific plan that we can take to council.
Bart, is that a motion?
It could be, yes.
Would you, I think it's a good idea. Please make the motion.
I'm making the motion. The motion is made. That was
okay. The motion is to
form a subcommittee on racial equity and justice, and to charge them to review all these recommendations, but particularly to emphasize number 5, 8, and 9, and on 5 to give us a plan that we can take to council.
Okay, thank you. I forget how it goes. Is there a second, or do I?
We need a second.
I'll
Okay,
second.
okay, thank you. Thanks, Will. All right, a second. And then do I do public comment now?
Yeah.
Okay. Public comment. I'm just taking a breath. Okay. All right. And if seeing no public comment, I'm going to see if there's any comments that people want to make. Yes, comments people want to make. Okay. Can we do a roll call vote? Okay. Anne Marie?
Okay. Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Bainan,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello,
Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
Commissioner Cannoli,
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dostie,
Yes.
and Chair Zapata.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. We are at our last agenda item, which is to discuss creating subcommittees. So we got one going. That's great. And so the idea was to create some subcommittees that perhaps reflect our work plan. So as we said earlier, we have racial equity and social justice, which I think we just created a subcommittee for. Mental health, housing, aging, disabled, homebound in place, and then youth leadership. Will.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I'd love to start a subcommittee looking into the creation of like a youth task force and like the pros and cons and kind of the possibility, if that seems like a possibility.
Yeah, that's great. So why don't we do that right now? We can just get people to offer to volunteer. I mean, again, I keep talking about labor because, this is this is a lot of work. And so without judgment, I think we need to see what people are willing to do work on. So is there anyone who'd be willing to work with Will on a youth task force?
This is Jeremiah. I would.
Great. All right, Will and Jeremiah. Okay. Bart?
Question. So if we're going to have 5 subcommittees, which is what we've got listed here.
I know, yeah.
Some of us are going to have to be on more than one.
Right.
If we each were on 2, would that give us enough person power to cover this? We could just vote with our feet. That is, see
right.
Which ones would people sign up for, and then
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think we should see what people are willing to put time and energy into right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim.
What are the 5 again, please? I got youth, DEI, mental health. What are the other 2?
How aging / disabled / homebound in place. This is, I think the wording needs to get changed because frankly, this is actually a continuation. The idea was a continuation of the aging in place work that took place last year. I'm sorry, in the previous commission that was frankly, and Margie's here, a lot of work, labor was done on the aging in place framework. So I'm wanting to see if we can call it aging. So there was mental health, housing.
Oh, housing was the one I missed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So youth, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusivity is what a lot of cities are calling this. Mental health, aging in place, whatever we call it, and housing.
Yeah.
And so as we get called, we would say which ones of those we're interested in. Okay.
Yeah, Bart, and then sorry, Will.
Maybe we don't need a subcommittee yet on aging, disability, and because there's a disability piece that we haven't attacked, but
yes.
The aging document is ready. There is a report. We don't need another report, so maybe we don't need a subcommittee on that right now.
Okay.
You mean you already sent something to council?
Wasn't sent to council, but it was prepared by Margie, and for the commission.
Is it ready to go to council?
Well, it's ready to come to the commission
I see.
For review and approval.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a document, we can start the discussion. So we don't need a subcommittee on that, but I'm mindful that that report doesn't deal with disability.
Yeah.
So maybe we need a disability subcommittee.
Yeah. We I see. I want to make sure we get to you, Will. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my general question is, I believe we already have like a subcommittee on mental health, so I just want to make sure we're not like redoing that, I guess.
That's a good question. Yeah. So
who's on that?
on it is Will, Bart, and Jeremiah.
Okay.
Are you all willing to still be on that?
I am.
Yeah, I am.
Jeremiah?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Okay. Is there anyone that wants to join the mental health?
You can only have 3.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, actually, Corey was interested, and Jim, you were too? On no, sorry.
I was saying that Corey was clearly interested.
yeah.
I could just see it on her face.
Yeah. Read the room. Okay. So, Bart, Will, or Jeremiah, is one of you willing to step back and open space for Corey to be on the mental health committee?
This is kind of my home base, and I've been pushing this for a long time, so I really would like to follow through on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the way, it was set up as a short-term committee. It wasn't set up as an ongoing committee. So there,
Okay.
Yeah, this is something I'm like super interested in, and I've really enjoyed the work we've done so far. So I'd like to continue as well.
Yeah, I'm very vested in this as well. I have a lot of lived experience, and I bring a lot to the table, and been working on this a long time. I know a lot of ins and outs with resources. Yeah.
Well, Corey?
I would just say my 2 main areas of interest are the disability stuff and the mental health stuff. And I come to this as an autistic person who has experienced drug-induced psychosis and has been institutionalized and can't leave the house sometimes because of my physical disabilities. And so I want to put that forth as it's lovely to see so much interest, and lived experience and experience in navigating stuff and new investments too, and the whole quorum thing sucks, and I don't know how useful it could be around the other things is the main for me. I don't know very much about housing. I don't know much about the sort of office creation part, like DEI, awesome. Racial equity, awesome. I'm invested. I've been learning stuff. Figuring out what an officer would do is really intimidating to me. And it sounds like that's what they're doing first. And youth stuff, it just doesn't super draw me. So that's where I'm at, is I want to be useful, and my energy is towards these 2 things that we're currently like, oh, this one's maybe full, and this one we're maybe not gonna. I could work on doing the whole aging in place plan and looking at it and how to apply disability stuff, and maybe on my own or with like a check-in partner that's sort of not really a subcommittee, just to keep me motivated and having some space to bounce things. So I just wanted to say where I am.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Jim, and then Jeremiah.
In my opinion, Corey has to be on that committee, and I would really ask one of the other people to step back, and if not, let's take a vote.
And Jeremiah.
But yeah, I was going to say, is it possible that Corey could be the emergency backup? Is that like a possibility?
Yeah, That's not what I'm hearing, but I want to get Sierra's comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I definitely think someone should not be, should step down, and Dotsy should definitely be on this committee. And I second Lindsay. I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a motion, but I definitely second Lindsay for sure. Yeah.
Jeremiah, is your hand up still? Okay. Jim?
I move that Commissioner Dosty be placed on the Mental Health Subcommittee.
I second it.
Okay. I think if we vote, then we have to figure out who else is on it, yeah? Because we're volunteering. Anyway, there's a vote up here. Sierra, did you want to say something?
So, and sake of time, it's 9:07. I'm not sure if we should move a motion to maybe surpass it till like 3 more minutes or 4 more minutes, but I definitely want to make that like a respectable time because it is.
Yeah, we're here till 9:30, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
No. Oh, trust me, I've got my eye on the clock. 9:30. All right. So we've got a motion. Comments on the motion that has been seconded. Bart?
It sounds like the simplest thing and the appropriate thing to do is to take a vote. There's 4 people for 3 positions. And we want to just take a vote, I think. I'm not sure technically how to do that on Zoom, whether there's some way to do that.
Right.
If we put up the 4 names and let's let people vote.
Yeah. I wonder if everyone could say their names, and then the people who got the 3 names of who they want on the committee, and then the people who have the most votes, quote unquote, or the most named. Jim, do you have a comment about this process?
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor. I do not accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
I'll explain myself, though, that I think that Will, Bart, Jeremiah will all do a fine job on it. We can't put 4 people on there. None of them is willing to step back. So I really don't care who of the other 2, 3 get on. That's why I'm making this motion. So if this motion passes, then we'll have filled 1 slot, and then we can figure out how to fill the other 2 remaining slots.
Okay.
That's the way.
All right. Are we okay with any other comments before we do a vote? Okay. Anne-Marie, if you can do a roll call.
What's the motion?
The motion is that Corey is a member of the Mental Health Subcommittee.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Bainan,
No.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli,
Yes.
Chair Zapata,
Yes.
Commissioner Dosty,
Yes.
and Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Abstain.
Okay. So we have a committee right now of 1. Let's see. To person the committee with 2 other people. I'm wondering if we could do a process by which we go around and say the 2 people we'd like. Will?
Yeah, I can just remove my name, so it can just be Grossman and Garrett Pinguello.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you, Will. I see some hands. Jeremiah and then Sierra.
I'd like to respectfully nominate Bainan.
Okay. So Sierra.
I would do Bain and Grossman.
Okay, so all right. So we're doing what I suggested, yeah? Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I think it's good. We just go around, we say our two names.
But
Okay, so
started it off.
that's what I thought it was originally, but you said
Okay.
Bain and Grossman,
Oh,
correct?
2 names?
So we're going to go around and say two names,
Right.
two-
and the getter, the vote, the highest vote getters.
Okay.
Jim, I know you've got some process. He's got
No.
he's got a spreadsheet somewhere.
It's not that. Commissioner Bainan is withdrawn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So, but then after he withdrew, Commissioner Garrett Pinguello renominated him. So are you offering to step off, Commissioner?
Yeah, Jeremiah, are you offering to step back and let Bart and Will be on the
No, I
committee?
got confused on this whole process. I thought what everybody was doing was we're re-voting on this whole thing, and now Corey is the first member, and now we're re-electing member number 2 and member number 3, like we're voting all over again. So I thought we were just doing the second member, so that's why I nominated Bainan, and I thought we were going to go around a third time and then nominate the third choice. But if we're doing both, I was going to suggest myself and Bainan, but I did not hear Bainan step down. I thought he had nominated. I wasn't sure. So
Yeah, he stepped down. So I think unless there's other comments, we're just going to move on. Sierra.
Well,
We
we should thank Bainan.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Will, for doing it.
Yay! Will, thank you. I wish I had a.
Now you get the youth task force automatically.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait, but Sierra, go for it.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I'm confused. So if Bain steps down, we can no longer vote for him, correct?
We're actually not going to vote because 2 people volunteered, which are Bart and Jeremiah, to join Corey. So we actually theoretically don't have another volunteer because Will just said, I'll step back. So at this point, yeah. Thank you for clarifying those, Sierra. Apreciate that. All right. So we've got a mental health subcommittee. We have a racial, yes, we have, wait.
We didn't member it.
Oh, we didn't member the committee. Okay.
You were going around and asking people what they wanted to be on.
Thank you. Yeah. Woo. Okay. 9:14. We got this. All right. Okie dokie. Why don't we do, okay, let's go around and say what 2 committees you'd like to be on. And I'm going to start with, Sierra, you're like right in my corner. So I'm going to call on you first. Which ones do you want to be on? No pressure.
Yeah, I think for me, the one that I'm already currently on, which is the racial inequity.
Yeah.
And the other one, if I can remember, is housing.
Got it. Cool. Housing.
Wait, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm saying this right. Do you mind renaming it one more time?
No problem. Let me actually, just so we can see it on our work plan, right here is, let's call this racial equity. Let's just call it racial equity, okay? So there's RE. We've got mental health, MH, which is already peopled. We got housing. We have this aging and youth.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So I'm housing and racial and equity.
Okay.
And may I ask if you have a preference between those 2? Could you say your number 1, number 2?
My number 1 is racial. Second is going to be housing.
Thank you. Why are you? He's got some spreadsheets going.
Never. I have no spreadsheet here.
There's some math calculation happening. Sorry.
Let him do it. Whatever it is, let him do it.
Yeah. Why, Jim? Why are you making her give it up?
Okay. It's because if we try to give people their first, and then their second is obviously not as important to them. That's all. If we have like competition again or something.
Now we see behind the curtain who's doing what with Oz. Anyway. Okay. All right, Sierra, Jeremiah, would you like to unmute and say your two?
Yeah, it's the mental health and housing, but I'm already on a housing subcommittee.
You're already on a housing subcommittee.
Yeah, I think me and Jeremiah are actually on the housing subcommittee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We're just kind of doing a reset. We're just sort of.
I got you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, homelessness and housing. So yeah, mental health
Okay.
and homelessness and housing. Those are two
Okay.
really good things I'm really
Got
good
it.
at, and I've
Okay. Sounds good.
looking-
Sorry, Jeremiah.
priorities. Remember Lindsay, the mental health and then the housing.
Thank you. Cool. All right, Jim, go ahead. And then we'll go Jim, then Corey.
I have a strong preference for the racial equity one. If I was forced to pick a second one, then it would be the youth one.
Okay.
But I'd be quite happy if that got filled without me.
Okay. Awesome. Corey?
Mental health, and then the aging and disabled one. And if that is not doing one, which I don't know if it is, the racial equity one.
Okay, cool. All right, Bart, we'll go Bart, and then Will. Oh, you're muted, Bart.
God. All right. I'm on the mental health already. I have a preference for the racial and racial equity because I really want to push the reparation thing. But I've gotten my first choice, so I'd be willing to do something else if other people wanted that one. And I think probably aging, since I worked on that in the previous commission. But I'm also interested in youth. So where you need me, okay? I've got one that I wanted. I'll do whatever else you want me to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Will. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
This is a mute. Tonight's the mute night.
Yeah, so I'm already on the youth one, and then housing will probably be my second choice.
Housing. Okay. Okay. I think that I am gonna do I think I'm gonna do one because chairing this is taking a lot of my time.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to do the racial equity one. That's more my biggest one. Jim, you got some numbers?
Yeah. So if you look at people's number ones, then the mental health, those were all people's number ones. And for the youth, Will was the only one with a number one there. 4 people volunteered, but he's the only one with a number one. So, and for other obvious reasons, like lived experience or living the experience right now, that seems pretty clear. On the racial equity, there were 3 people that put it number one. It's the same people that were on the subcommittee before, Sierra, myself, and Karen.
KZ.
Pardon? KZ, right. Yeah, I forgot, sorry. Housing, only 3 people volunteered, Sierra, Jeremiah, and Will. And aging and disabled, we did say there was work to be done. We've got the thing from Margie, but it's just aging in place. It doesn't include the other pieces. And Corey put it number 2 and Bart put it number 2. There's 3 people just there. So that would mean that, and so the only remaining thing would be who's on the youth task force, because there's Will, and then Jeremiah said he would help, but didn't list it as a priority later, but I believe he will help. I'm willing to help, and Bart is willing to help. So it's like, fleshing out the youth task force. I think everything else, people get what they want, except we'll step back on the mental health. Thanks again, Will. But so I think it's pretty natural. It's just who's going to do the youth one. Did that make sense or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And who offered to do youth again?
So Will, number 1.
Yeah.
Jeremiah effectively put it number 3. I effectively put it number 3. And
so
Bart
did
effectively
Bart,
put it
yeah.
number 3.
Yeah. So why don't we get, let's just say who of all of you who've those 4 are willing to do it. Jeremiah?
Yeah, I thought I had already accepted doing the youth task force with Bainan earlier.
Okay.
That's why I kind of left it out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Jeremiah, Will, and between Bart and Jim, you got.
Yeah, Bart, it's yours if you want it. I mean, I'm way overstrapped and kind of overwhelmed. So it's.
Well, I'm already on 2, right?
You
Yeah.
are?
Am I not on aging and disability?
He's on
Aging
mental health.
Oh, and mental health. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do the youth one then.
Do we need 3 people or can it be 2?
It can be 2.
It could be 2.
I'm fine with it being 2 unless,
Okay.
Lindsay, you really want to be on it. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
I love young people, but I'm just really, really, really
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's fine.
but why don't you, if you can utilize me in some fashion, as an ex-teacher, for example, or whatever it might be, then I'll help out. But
Yeah, of course.
okay.
Okay, so I just want to be careful because we have 8 more minutes and we need to put on future agenda items. And yeah.
We gotta make sure that staff has this down for the minutes.
Yeah.
So, youth is Will and Jeremiah. Anne Marie, can you say okay, or you got it or something?
Yes, youth is Will and Jeremiah. Got it.
Racial equity is Sierra, Jim, and KZ.
Okay.
Mental health is Bart, Jeremiah, and Corey.
Got it.
Aging and whatever the heck else it is, I still don't get it, but other people do. We're using Margie's, the report from Margie, and hopefully she can be involved in this in some fashion. And Corey and Bart. It's a 2-person subcommittee at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then for housing, it's Sierra, Jeremiah, and Will.
Okay, and I have one request. If you want to have a Zoom meeting and you want the city to arrange it, then just if you can let me know when you want to have it and it will be done. And if you want a room and you want to meet in a room, that can be arranged too. But if people can, I don't know if you can do it now, to decide when you want your meetings to be, and I will just set them up and send you the reminders so it won't get all confused like it did with the last subcommittee meeting that we had to keep rescheduling.
Yeah, I wanna say that Anne Marie and I talked about this. Actually, I was going to try to make time at the end so that we could set some meetings up, and I apologize because I just know the time is tight. But these subcommittees are not subject to the Brown Act because they're small enough. So I really want to encourage us to use our own Zoom links, Anne Marie and I met outside at the Albany Community Center, and to use actually Anne Marie as little as possible in a way, because we're going to lose. Corey and I have had a 10-minute conversation, and I think we had about 15 emails that went back and forth. So scheduling is, like, in an organizer's world, probably the hardest thing that we face. So I want to encourage us all to do this work collaboratively and without Anne Marie so that it actually happens. And I don't think we have time to do it right now. I'm not really willing to extend the, Bart?
Maybe one thing that you could do, Casey, would be to appoint a convener for each group. just for the first session, so that somebody
That's a
can be
great
in
idea.
charge of making the arrangements. And
Awesome.
I leave it up
Yes.
to you to do that.
Okay, here I go. Will, you're going to convene the youth one. Okay. Jim, you're going to convene the racial equity one. Okay. This is fun. I wish the world worked like this. Housing, Sierra. Yeah. Okay. Aging, let's see, Bart.
Okay.
Yeah. And then mental health, Corey. Okay. That was fun. Okay. Oh
Ken, I think it would be really helpful for the convener to let Anne Marie and KZ keep them in the loop as to like, you know, we had a meeting and, you know, or we scheduled a meeting or whatever. And Anne Marie, you're going to send people's contact information to each other?
If you could do that, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I give permission to give everybody my cell phone number and my email address.
Well, likewise for me.
Yeah, we're required to anyway. The city says that when we sign up for commission.
Okay. And sorry, did I miss?
Is there possible maybe we could just all get a phone tree? I mean, could we get just an email? I mean, just at least with people's email address, or I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, if you could send us each other's email address, we could just do this whole thing. I don't think that's, yeah.
Yeah, we don't need phone.
So staff is told not to do that, and you're supposed to submit a freedom of information request to get it. It's just really annoying.
That's crazy.
But she's just following orders.
Yeah.
So she'll send people the contact information for the people in their subcommittees, and we'll be able to meet. And if you want everybody's, then you'll have to get it yourself, or you have to. It doesn't take but 5 minutes to fill out that form, by the way, but whatever.
Okay. Okay. Jeremiah, briefly.
Just curious why the city hasn't adopted any sort of policies with these commissions using personal email addresses. They're not issued a city email address or something like that. I mean, a lot of people ask me if I have a card or a business card, and I'm like, the city doesn't give me business cards. You know, I don't have anything, and it's people don't really, you know. So I was just wondering if we had city email addresses or something.
Bart, we do?
Well, there's a collective email address.
Oh.
You know, when we get messages, that's just for us. But and by the way, this decision not to provide a list of emails, when was that made? Who made it? I've never heard of it. Anne Marie, are you aware that there's some rule that you're not allowed to distribute emails?
I've been told that when I email all of you that I have to blind email you, that I can't send you each other's email addresses.
Well, that's really, there's no policy that I'm aware of that the council has ever passed. So this seems like an administrative decision. We do sign a document when we are appointed that says that the city's entitled to distribute our email.
Yeah, yeah.
So why is the city unwilling to do so? Well, you don't know. I'm sorry.
I can tell you that when I asked for everybody's emails from Anne, when she was sort of filling in, she said, "I'm sorry, I cannot do that, but go to the website, fill out the Freedom of Information request," which really took 5 minutes. I was very pleased about that. And then once I filed that, boom, then I got the roster.
We need a motion to extend the meeting to talk about future agenda items if anyone would like to do so.
So moved.
Second?
Do we need a roll call?
Yeah, Bart seconds it. We need a roll call.
Okay.
For how long, Jim?
5 minutes?
Okay, 5 minutes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dostie,
Yes.
Commissioner Bainan,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguela,
Aye.
Commissioner Cannoli,
9:36, correct?
and Chair Zapata.
Yes. All right, we got this. Okay, future agenda items.
It's all pretty clear.
Yeah. Jeremiah?
Yeah, I think we could possibly, a future agenda item, put together some sort of, I don't know what we call it, presentation or advise to city council to use some of that AARP, or I'm sorry, ADRP, the money, the millions of dollars, because in the city council meeting last night, they were talking about using all this money for Berkeley food and housing and emergency hotel rooms and all this stuff right now. So I was wondering if we could recommend to council how to use some of that money for some of our goals.
Okay. Bart, I wanted to ask, do you think we should get Berkeley Mental Health to do a presentation, or is it too early for that?
I think that's not where we start. I think we
Okay.
start with the county, and then do Berkeley a little bit later. That's
think
going to
we-
take a little diplomacy, because
Okay.
they're probably going to say no
Okay.
at first, unless we but I know them, so.
So it sounds like in terms of future agenda items, perhaps we will be doing some subcommittee work, and I mean, do we want to try to talk about mental health more?
Yeah, I think a presentation from the county is in order, and a report from the staff.
Can you help me connect with the county?
Sure, but I don't think that you have to do that. I think that that staff can do that.
Okay.
But I'd
Okay.
be happy to discuss it with you and figure it out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other future agenda items? All right, thank you all so much. The meeting is adjourned. See you December 7th.